Hello and welcome back to some more lessons on basic graffiti lettering. This lesson will be about 3D. So as you can see, I've produced a letter E already, and on this one, we're going to discuss the vanishing point 3D. So vanishing point would be you choose one location anywhere within your your imagination, and this is the vanishing point. And what might be useful is if you have a ruler, just to line up from each prominent edge of your letter to that vanishing point. Now you don't really need to go all the way to the vanishing point unless you want to, but what we want is just to get a rough guide. Now you can also do it without a ruler by imagining your line with your eye and your movement. See, this one just wouldn't be seen, it would be hidden behind itself. And you just gotta keep working. Obviously some parts of the line won't be seen because it's behind other parts of the letter. Like so. Just be seen, tiniest little bit. Okay, once you get these points marked out, you then choose a thickness you would like your 3D to be. And then you would literally trim it down. And if you have these bends, you might want to just double check that your bend is in the right place. Now these curves are obviously interesting because this drops beyond your vision. So technically the point would be tucked away behind that edge. So you have to imagine that line popping into that point. Do you see? And that is a vanishing point. And you have your thickness all done, you can rub away your guidelines, and voila. And then to make it really work, you've got to think about the shading. Now obviously in the deep depths of your 3D, it'd be very dark because not much light would be getting there. You also want to think, where is your light source? How would it cast upon your 3D? And when you're shading in your 3D, you want to almost copy the angle of it. So it's shooting this way, my shading lines to give it that motion and keep true to its placing. We want to match that. Or you could do it vice versa and match it that way. But for me, I prefer so. Then voila. Just a quick outline, as you can see. that would be your vanishing point, 3D. Now, sometimes when you do your actual colouring in of your letters, you'd have a real nice back glow. So you could have, say, in this bottom section, a nice colour radiating up from the bottom corner, and then also in your 3D, you can have some wonderful complementary tones, just catching. You'll give a bit more sort of dynamic to your 3Ds. It's also another way to fill it. So imagine some sort of pinks or greens going up. Another technique in your 3D can occasionally just have some stronger block fills, and they're kind of like broken apart with some strong lines, again in the direction of the 3D. So these are various ways to play with the tones within your 3D, and it's fun to play with. Recommend it. Or you can have more of a spotlight tone, so a nice solid fill, casting a nice sort of spotlight shadow upon your thicker sections of your 3D. Again, that would look real nice if that was, say, if you had a purple letter and you had then a green casting light upon the green light glow emanating from here. You have some real nice contrast happening. And these are like your spotlight details. Let's see. Like so. Maybe a little bit there. So those are some various ways of filling your 3D, but they're like it's always worth experimenting yourself and discovering if there's anything you like. But that's your vanishing point. You choose one area and you make all the edges that you can see travel towards that point, and then you choose your thickness. Next up, very, very similar. And here we have an N, small caps N. We're going to do a similar one, a vanishing point. It's always nice to do it kind of low bottom corner, because the high it gives more power to your letter if you imagine the viewer looking up. Whereas if your vanishing point is from above, it's kind of like it's falling down. It doesn't kind of hold onto the wall as well. So generally speaking, bottom corners. This one is going to be another vanishing point, but it's going to be a dynamic vanishing point. When I say dynamic, it's almost like, let's do it over here. So whereas there's a still one, very straight and linear, we'd have an almost arcing. It's almost as if it's getting propelled from somewhere. You see, so everything has like a motion to it. So again, just going through the paces. Little bits I'd probably have just a small 3D on, because you don't want it to confuse, take away some of the strength from the other points. So once we have kind of the rough outline of this, choose the thickness. And as you can imagine, it's starting to, it condenses with these vanishing points. So a line this long wouldn't be that long down here. It'd be much shorter because it's all starting to condense and shrink. So just bear that in mind. Yeah. And don't be afraid to be quite organic with all this. It's moving 3D, so give it room to breathe with that motion. And again, you want to think about the reality within your 3D. Where is the light? Where won't be getting light? Where will? I need a darker pencil for this. And that would be a dynamic vanishing point 3D. Let's do some proper toning in here. Let's kind of do a bit of a spotlight 3D tone in here. And the creases is where some of the shadow would cast in there. I'm going to leave this area more lit. Like so. Feel like maybe casting that more shadow. There we go. Don't be afraid to really darken up areas. It really brings that drama to the letter. That would be much more. That would be easier to see once you have say another tone in there. I'll quickly show you. Let's see. Quickly. Could have been nice as if I had 2 colours in there. It's a bit late now. I'll just show you what I mean. If I had some highlights here as well, I really start helping. So, Vanishing Point, dynamic. As you can see, there's a bit more flair going on. We'll move on to an O. Now we'll do this one. We'll do linear across. So this is like a simpler version. You're sort of generating not much depth, and you literally follow one solid direction. So I'm imagining that it's the linear motion acrosswards, and then you literally try and retrace or redraw that edge straight across, like so. And you'd work your way along, again just pointing out any major areas. Again, trying to match a similar thickness throughout. This could be a quite good 3D to start learning on, so you don't have to worry about perspective so much. And you can, doesn't have to be straight across, it could be diagonal across, it could be straight down. So you can just choose any direction and just slide it straight across, straight this way, straight that way. And then of course you'd 3D that in, like 3D up, give it some tone. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's not make it so black and white. Of course, I'm rushing a bit here. I would like to give it more time if I was doing my own kind of thing. Rethink about it a bit, but Don't want you guys getting bored. Again, notice how I'm shading it with that direction in mind. This helps keep it neat and adds to the flow of that 3D. Plus, if the sun you do it diagonally, it kind of confuse the eye. Too much going on. And I'm just trying to choose a wild colour because I just want to show you that just because it's the background or the side element to your letter doesn't mean it can't have an interesting edge to it, you know? It doesn't have to be black or grey. It can be 3D could be your main point of your letter. It could be where some of the most funky colours and feels happen. Who knows? So that's your linear. You just choose one direction, one area, and you all aim that way. With no condensing, no dynamic. Just this is quite solid. And then if you imagine if the letters are stacked as a word, you know, it would look really quite powerful. And then we'll move to an S. And this is going to be another useful one in case it's very similar to the vanishing point, but it's like the linear, but without a ruler. And imagine if you're working on a large wall, you haven't really got a thing long enough to do your marking out. So in my head, I have a tool, and this tool is a little bracket. I imagine a little bracket, and I start this bracket, that point on a major point, and I imagine in my head I drop it down and I move it across. And that, I've imagined this bracket. And from that point, that's where that point lines up. So now I have to do it to every little corner. Drop it down, move it across. And that's where that would go. But then that's behind here, so you have to go top bracket, move it down, move it across. So that's where that will go. So this is just a little handy tool to have in your mind's eye. Bracket, drop it down, move it across. So that goes to there. Yeah, and every so often you might want to check, is this angle kind of matching this angle? And if it is, then you're doing good. It means that your bracket is being consistent, down and across. So that would be over here, down and across. So that would be hidden, so that's cool. Down and across, so that's over there. This is the curves. Very interesting because the 3D will fluctuate sometimes through a curve, so you just might want to check in with yourself at certain points of the curve and see how it would kind of shrink and start to hug closer to the curve. It wouldn't just be this thickness all the way around, because your perspective is shifting as you look at it. So bear that in mind. It's a very important skill to master with your 3D, how to handle curves and the transition through those curves. Down and across, so that'd be hidden, that's cool. That would just disappear behind that. And that's almost like your bracket 3D, we'll call that. Again, just quickly give it some tone so you can see what's going on. Again, you see I'm kind of roughly shading in the angle of that 3D, just to make it look part of it. So here, as I line out, I might just see, like, notice that that's not quite right with this, so I'm just going to tweak it a bit here. And again, it's fine to have some organic fluctuation. It's cool. Don't be too hard on yourself. As long as it looks realistic to some extent and holds true. Again, let's just do some kind of bars. Think about where your light's going to be. A little bit there. Like so. And another little detail, you can almost put a little subline in here. This is another nice little way of just making your 3D pop a little, especially if it's a very busy kind of piece, or just gives a nice little extra impact just on that top edge. Voila. Let's force field this one. Nice little force field. Or aura, however you like to see it. What aura are you going to give your letters? And this is where it'd be interesting, because you're already giving the composition some light. So maybe it could glow onto some of the 3D. If it's casting something. Yes, that's the bracket technique. Very similar to the very first one, the Vanishing Point, but it's just very useful to have in your head on a large scale, or a little technique there. Now, just try and wrap this up, don't want it too long. So I've done a little piece here, the letter big, or the word big. And I'm going to just imagine now this is a wall. So this is the bottom of the wall. And so far shown you 3D with an edge to it, but there's a really nice strong techniques where your 3D will literally just bang down to the bottom of the floor. And it's as if it's rising up from that horizon line. And literally similar, you choose one, it's very linear, it really suits a linear approach. And when I say linear again, there's no narrowing, it just travels steadily along that travel line, that point. And these are nice and such a strong look on a wall, especially if there's a lot of noise in the background. You might want to imagine there's a piece of wall with lots of other artwork in the background. And you want to just throw a big strong piece. And this 3D really helps clean up that area, really makes it pop, gives it something solid, something strong for the eye to see. And another good thing is there's so much space to play with in this 3D. You can really give it a lot of something interesting, you know, like all sorts of smoke could be drifting into the foreground and coming around and in between, you know, so it's so much, you can play with a lot of the depth to the letter there. So it's just, imagine it cuts behind 3D, comes in front. Put some shadow on the smoke pretty well. This is another 3D that's very good when you're starting out, something not too complicated. And it looks really good if it's just a thick fill. If you just do it all black, it's still going to look really powerful, really good. So you could be very much neater on this. I'm just literally doing it as fast as I can. It's kind of wintry chill. And there you have just a clean to the bottom of your workspace, like so. There you go. That's a quick few ideas for you to start playing with your 3Ds. So you have your vanishing point, spotlight tones, spotlight shading, some streaks. And then you have your vanishing point with a dynamic, so you give yourself a little curve, so kind of more of a flow, more of a bounce to the look. And you have your linear 3Ds, just straight across, not worrying about any condensing or pinching. Choose an angle, go straight to that angle. Again, very similar angle, but it's down to the floor. You can go straight down if you wish. And the bracket, a great tool to have in your mind's eye. Down and across, down and across, down and across. Make sure they kind of roughly match up in their shape and their form. Yeah, jobs are good. I hope it's been useful. Thank you for joining in. Wish you all the best. See you later.